G'day guys, and a quick preview for Warwick Farm today. Heavy 10, and again, it's heavy 9, and definitely going to be one of those meetings where it looks difficult to run on from a long way back because of the heaviness of the track, and looking for those hard fit on pace horses. Thought it'd be easier to go through the meeting quickly rather than write up sheets again, as it's just a bit of a nightmare meeting and easier to talk about than write about properly. So getting into it, first race for the 2-year-olds. It's a maiden handicap, and get rid of these scratchings. 2, 5 and 7 come out. Wild Heart's been heavily back this morning. Comes off this a solid Melbourne run 24 days ago over the 1100, steps to 12 here. The stable's very good at sort of switching them, and it was a good effort down there, running good time off a slow tempo, came from back in the field and hit the line well. The winner's come out and won at Flemington since, albeit narrowly and a little bit luckily maybe, but still the form's been franked considering it was a Geelong maiden. Set weights there, so probably be midfield here and finishing off, and probably a deserved favourite, to be honest, so it's probably the horse to beat. I thought Animalia looked in need of further off its trials, and its original start has been gelded. Curdled, to me, looked as has had no luck and can improve, but definitely needs to, and 1200 looks a bit of a query. Fraudulent's a horse I've got plenty of time for. I thought its trials were really good. I thought today might be a bit of an issue considering where it might get to in the run. I just really like, this is it here down the outside here, its last sort of 150, 200, look at it coming home here under its own steam, over 740. Then when it went out to 1,000 metres last start, it again settled back in the field, and just really like, it's given sort of one tickle up here, and they've actually, they've not gone fast in this trial, as you can see, but far last section is probably where they've sped up the most, and you can see it doing its best work here. I really think it's a bit of a hidden one, and wouldn't be surprised if it won today, no doubt about that. I just think on top of the ground, and is probably going to suit her a lot better in the future. Still definitely probably the one to watch for me out of the whole race. I thought very hard to work out the trials of Sign Net. It's had one in February, one in March, and then one in May, spaced out, and all pretty similar Godolphin trials. Hard to work it out, but it's obviously well fancied and stole it a ride. Marzuma is the one I probably wanted to risk, coming from the Lipizan race last start where it had every possible chance and looked a bit weak late. Now having to go to a heavy surface up in distance and probably getting a tougher run back in the field, I really couldn't find it. Cooker Cod comes out of that same race and went better. I'm a bit surprised it's $8 when the other one's $5.50, but it can definitely improve and probably looks better suited up in distance, and shouldn't have a problem with fitness. So Wild Heart probably the one to beat. To Cooker Cod, the next best of the race, and I'm really interested to see how Fraudulent goes and where it can go to the future. It's the one I want to follow out of the race. It's a well-bred filly on debut that looks to have above average talent. Obviously trusting Rodine, so interested in her from a future perspective. Race 2, and only a 6-horse field for the 2-year-olds. It kind of looks a case of, if Heliosphere handles the wet, it wins. I really think it's got all the upside in the world compared to the rest of them. Madam Mustache and African Rainbow look the two that are definitely got the fitness base. To a smaller degree, the bottom horse, Love Speed Girl, it probably lacks the quality a bit. You could find excuses for African Rainbow in its preparation. Possibly it went 11 to 14, which is tough, then back to 12, which is tough. It definitely comes out of a solid enough race last start, and the race it's Ramwick that it comes out of was also pretty good. Heliosphere came out of that race as well and was pretty dominant late over it, but that's not to say that it can't beat it here. I'd say that Heliosphere is definitely the one. just quickly, the winkers go on today. 1400 there, obviously was primed for 1400 first go, so no surprise to see it running well here. It's back in the China Horse Club colours here, the white nose. It's forced back to the inside late, and this is a slow tempo, so it's running a home against a slow tempo here. So its merit's pretty hidden. It's a strong race. I think these horses are as strong as they come, and you see it really starting to find through its gears late. I can't bet against it. I could have something small on it. $2.10 is probably, it's probably $1.80 chance or something like that, considering the wet track. And I don't want to go berserk, but I don't want to bet against it, that's for sure. Race 3. Very evenly graded for mine, in a race that I couldn't really get a good handle on. You've got the rapidly improving possibilities of Jaunty coming off its first start. Again, in a slow tempo race, races up in trip and now finds a wet track, so extremely hard to line it up. Ragusa Rose got back in a bit of a messy race and similarly goes up in trip here, and only difference is that was a city maiden as opposed to a provincial maiden with Jaunty. Lope to the Lope looks to have really solid ability, but shows up first up here, 1400 on the heavy, even though it has had 2,000 metre trials that were both good. Varice has been a little bit weak late in its races at both starts. And then we've got the two resuming horses in Come On Vogue and Flying DJ, who have both trialled fairly and do look suited 1400 first up. It's just a worry with the added heavy track to worry about their fitness. So I think Jaunty and Ragusa Rose are the best set-up horses, but I'm not sure if they're going to end up the best horses in the race. They're drawn inside and might need a bit of luck. I think Lope to Lope is the interesting horse, but the fitness base is not there, and then there's added query from the bottom too, so it looks an absolute nightmare of a race that I'd be staying right away from. Race 4 looks a match race. 3 chances, but a match race mainly between the top two here in Tivoli Street and Dream Builder. Tivoli Street's obviously got the really solid form on the board, beaten by Chapalco around this track before it went out for a break. 2 solid trials, came back and chased home. Launch code for really slow tempo there. Jump from 12 to 14 on the heavies, the only query. It's got the best form, looks the leader, looks to dictate. It's got Bowman, ticks just about all boxes. I am interested in Dream Builder. I thought at its first start it was given little winning hope. It was restrained back to the tail on off a solid, only an even tempo. Tried to bring to the outside, checked. They've run home pretty solidly there. It was obviously on debut and gave up fitness and other factors to the runners there, and ran a good race to run into third late. It's had the 16 days between to recover, and now raises to 14, which doesn't look an issue. But again, it is a query. It finds a wet track, but I'd much rather take $6.50 about Dream Builder than $1.50 about Tivoli Street. And then you've got Lucky Legend, who was ridden by the Apprentice, and he seemed to get a little bit lost on it first up over the 11. It jumps to 14 on a wet as well, but gets the senior rider aboard and can easily improve enough to be competitive here. Heyman and Waldorf are the hard fit horses for the multiples, but I'd say this Dream Builder and Tivoli Street should be closer in the market in price to what they are. Tivoli Street has to be favourite. It just has to be with the dominance it looks like it's going to get from the front and its previous form, but Dream Builder does look to tag and can definitely improve. Lucky Legend's the knockout at $11. Race 5. Interesting race here for mine. You've got a few horses here on for 5-day backup, which is quite rare, all from the same stable. So Waller's got 3 of them. Thai Boxing was obviously unlucky the other day. Isle of Capri was a little bit unlucky, and Queen of Heights looked to get every chance, but I think it was probably pace affected. It didn't go quite fast enough outside that lead. It's a very one-paced horse and looks to get a soft tempo here. So even though it was probably the 3rd best run in that race the other day, it probably gets the right setup here. Aggressively priced at $2.50 early. I definitely couldn't take that, but I don't want to lay it as such either. So Thai boxing looks to get a trail in behind, and so does Olive Capri again. Not much between those three. I think they're all pretty well found in the market. The horse that I'm interested in is Happy Hustler. I thought it was ridden pretty poorly last start. Well, didn't have a lot of luck. It wasn't really a poor ride. Didn't have a lot of luck, and did look to be big in physical condition and can improve. I think it's the one at $16 each way that I want to be with. I'm not really convinced about all of Waller's horses, and he seems to just be sending them around trying to toughen them up, and they're probably a preparation away from being dangerous horses. And Happy Hustlers looks ready to go here, and I think it's just too big a gap in pricing at the moment. I've probably got it closer to $4.50, $5 the field, near a $6 chance. So at the $15, $16 and $4 a place, that looks the play for me in this race. Race 6, small field for the mares. No speed. Crown Moss dictates 67 days between runs. Not usually ideal. That stable usually likes to warm them up a bit with a run or two under their belt. Lady Sansa looks the most dangerous, sitting up on a slow tempo. Does have a pretty good turn of foot. It's the one that probably puts them away first, and I think Anisha's the chaser. Not much between those two. But again, sort of taking $3.30, $3 about two horses that are, probably midweek in towns as high as they're getting at this stage. Anisha's probably the one that has the quality. It's just a matter of whether she runs the strong 16, but maybe a slow tempo will help her there, and she'll just sit back and come with one run. But not a race I'm too overly keen to bet in. Race 7, another softish race. I'd probably just quickly show the replay of this horse. Taken by how well this horse went the other day at Akasaki. It was in a solid enough, even though it was a Dubbo 1100 metre race, it was a race with a bit of depth, and I got some time for the second horse here, who had every chance in the run, and this horse gets back to the inside, which was definitely the clear inferior going here. And gaps these horses first up from a spell. It has shown ability in town before, but the way it races away here, I wouldn't be surprised if it did very similar today. Wider Claim's obviously a nice horse first up from the Portelli yard. The rest of them have pretty much found their level for mine. Rogue Missile's got ability, but normally wants further and takes a few runs to warm into to work. He did run a nice race to run second to Didham's first up last time in. So if there was a horse I could probably save on, it would be it, around the $8.50 mark. It's just a kind of matter where it gets to. I think this Akasaki looks like he could get to definitely this grade and a little bit further this preparation, and could well dominate these. He looks to have a good setup, likes it soft. He's got speed, and he ticks just about every box here. He looks exceptionally hard to beat for mine. The last looks at a really difficult little race, 1400 metres. Tempo looks assured that they should run along in pretty solid time. I'm not sure what they do with Good Time Charlie here. It's interesting to see whether it rolls forward. Fratellino also rolls forward, and then they should dictate. Level 8's the one you want to find, but it's a matter of sort of how far it's going to get back and what's happening here. I don't really think Good Time Charlie's absolutely flying. I was interested by Pelanthronius's first up win, but it was a bit of a funky little race. It's a dicey race for mine where I can't have any real confidence. I'd be throwing Fratellino in. I think it's flying, and it stays down in the weights, and it could be suited the way the track should be playing. It can dictate things, and I think probably level 8 now. Beatnik are the chasers if you give our Beatnik's last run, and it's right in this. And Metallic Crown with the Bowman bookings obviously a little bit interesting as well from that stable. It does look like it was the only one up in the weights though that they could have put him on. So maybe it needs a run or two more. I'd be probably throwing in 12, 13, 14 in the quaddie. But other than that, not having a bet, I just can't really find too much there. So not much in the day for mine. Race 1, I'm keeping a close eye on Fraudulent. Race 2, Heliosphere, clearly the one to beat. Race 3 Too Hard. Race 4 Dream Builder Tiny at the $6.50 to beat Tivoli Street, maybe saving on the Quinella. Box the Quinella with maybe as well for something with Lucky Legend. Happy Hustler each way, race 5. Nothing, race 6. Akasaki, very hard to beat, race 7. And nothing, race 8. Good luck today, guys.